Ready. Oh my gosh. That's how it's done. Welcome in the Cafe Nightly Show. I'm your host, the Goldsmith. You had a little bit of a sneak peek. I'm going to hide him away so I can get him ready and corralled and we can get things going. But welcome into the Cafe Nightly Show. It is the 17th of May, 2024. My background is beautiful because I'm watching the guests get ready in the green screen and backstage in the green room, and it's pretty intense. So welcome into the Cafe Nightly Show. Special guest tonight in this series of getting ready for Genesis Week 2024. Speaking with one of the Designer of the Year nominee, and again, talked to Jacques last Saturday. Got a chance to talk to another Designer of the Year nominee this week, the one and only Detech, so pretty excited to do that. I think he's going to stick around, be able to talk a little Upland, but more than anything, talk about Genesis Week 2024 and hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. Actually going this year. Had to get encouraged to be nominated, but Genesis Week 2024, but also UGC, what UGC means to the player, interacting in the UGC community, and, of course, the nomination of a Designer of the Year. And, of course, there is the one and only Detech, and I've got to do this for your benefit to protect me from you and to protect you from me. All views and opinions expressed by myself are mine and mine alone. Should be taken as game strategy or financial advice. They don't represent the game of the team of Upland. In this case of Detech, I don't represent Detech, so keep you clean from that. And with our guests, all of our guests, they have their own opinions, and welcome to them. Shouldn't be taken as game strategy or financial advice. They don't represent the game of the team of Upland. They represent myself, the Goldsmith, of the Cafe Nightly Show. Look at that. Now people can't say you told them to buy, dump all their 401k and buy Upland. There you go. We're safe. How you doing, Detech?
Good. Hello.
Yes. Hello. So I'm excited, whether or not you are or not. That's entirely up to you. Nominated for Designer of the Year. I know this is like 2 years in a row. How's it feeling this year? Because I think that it feels like it's a little different this year.
Much more exciting because there's also a Genesis design challenge, and I just finished my model, so I'm free.
Yeah. Well, what's exciting in the Genesis design model finished, I mean, who knows what that's going to be. Are we even going to get finalists listed for that, or is that even a thing? Do we know yet?
Oh, it closes on 21st, so they're going to have all the entries by then.
Yeah, but they're not going to list a series of this person is nominated, this person's a finalist, that person's a finalist. I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, just because they done it like that last year doesn't mean it's going to be the same this year, right? I would love to see all the models because last year I won the design challenge and
it didn't go anywhere.
I have not seen any other models.
No, you won a design challenge last year and it didn't go anywhere. It's just. Oopsie. So,
but
what?
During Genesis, they were messaging me like 3 people, like, "Can you remove the FIFA logo from there?"
Yeah.
And I did, and I guess they showed it, and that was it. But it was fun.
It was fun. It was cool. Yeah, it was supposed to be a prize for winning a tournament that never happened.
Yeah, in this year, the prize is much bigger, and the challenge is much harder. So it's been.
It's been what?
Oh, I started the first day that it was announced, and it took me. I thought it took me 3 weeks, but I just looked back. It took me 5 weeks of evenings to finish it. So it took a little too long for that one.
Well, not to mention you got to do another 3 if you actually win.
Yeah. So now I'm like, if you win, it's a lot of work. If you don't, it was a lot of work. So,
well, if you lose, it's a lot of work for essentially nothing. With the exception of blueprint shops are coming and you could reuse them theoretically, potentially. Yeah.
Unless they change the dimensions that you can use for the,
Yeah, that's the rim shot right there because yes, they've done it before. Designed based on these dimensions, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, we're not going to use those dimensions anymore. We're going to use them something else.
I'm actually very upset because once it changed the dimensions, I realized that all the buildings that I've made in the first and second master builders, I can't even use them.
So these were all structures that you were thinking about. Hey, when we have blueprints, maybe, just maybe, I can use these.
Yeah, but I'd have to go back and rescale them, resize them, and
it's a lot
of work.
A lot of redesign to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, and with, obviously with that, kind of this idea that that's going to be at Genesis Week, but I guess the bigger idea with what's going to be at Genesis Week, it's official. You've booked the tickets. You have the flame. Unless you're going to back out on me now, you're going to Genesis Week this year.
Oh yeah. It was a tough decision. Just with the work and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think last year it was some nose surgery or something.
Yeah. But now I can come and show my new shiny nose.
Well, there you go. You do the work. You do the work on the nose. You get to show it off. Get to show everybody the brand new nose. It's exciting.
I'm a bit worried because I don't know. Like I've never been there, right? It's going to be a lot of people that I've actually never seen anybody, from Upland in real life.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like? Because you're coming from Greater Toronto area, gonna actually get on a plane, come to the States for the first time in what? How many years?
Maybe 20 years. No, I drove. No, I drove with my wife. Maybe like 7 years ago last time.
Mm-hmm.
So went to Philadelphia to work.
Well, that's not the same. It's not the same as Vegas. That's not the same. So
Vegas, I haven't been for 20 years.
You haven't been in Vegas for 20 years. Okay, so you headed to Vegas this year. Again, what was the difference of the decision? Was it just happened to work this year? Last year didn't work, even though Upland was like, "Hey, here's a little bit of Mun. You want to come down? We want to see you."
Yep, and it's also like because this is kind of my evening internet game, my imaginary world, right?
Yeah.
With my imaginary friends, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're excited to see you live, and I realized I only know how a few people look in Upland, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like, hey, I know Goldsmith, I know Uplando, Cheese, Dejak, and then the rest of the people, most of the people, Joe I know, and then the rest of the people like. They're gonna be like, "Hey, who are you?"
Detech, you know what I need you to do? I need you to open your mic on Discord. I think your mic never got opened up on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Boom! Chakalaka boom! There you go. That changes the world for a lot of people. Thank you so much, Detech.
Oh no! So people weren't hearing me talk about them.
Oh, wow. Poor C. C says you don't know her. Wow. C says you don't know her. You don't know Cheese. You don't know what these people look like?
Wow. C Prado?
Apparently.
C Prado? I've said
Yeah, C Prado. Well, she said that she's wondering, are you saying you don't know anybody?
No, a few people. I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of people, like, that, they were messaging me like from my server, like, "Hey, I'm gonna see you. That's great." And I'm like, "Hey, how are you gonna know it's me?"
Yeah. So obviously this year a little different. You're able to make it. Hi, Trees. Good to see you. Hi, Blue. But yeah, it's interesting. You're gonna be able to make it this year. I love the glasses. Is that what you're gonna wear the entire time in Genesis?
I'll wear those just so people would
know who you are. Green, different green lenses in them.
I have lights, but that's
lights. Show me lights. Oh, well, that's good enough. I mean, those are blue, but that's good enough. People know who you are. Yeah. Oh, that'll work for me. So as far as dressing up like your Block Explorer it goes, but getting into Upland, I mean, the UGC idea, the idea of the second year design of the year nominated. What are you coming from as far as take a step back in the story of Detech comes to Blender? I know you had some, design background, and Upland was running some of these contests in Blender, and you just woke up one day and decided to run that way. Tell us a little bit about that story in a little more detail than I have.
So before Upland, I played a game called Deep World. Mm-hmm. It's like a sandbox game, which is steampunk, and it expired. And during that time, you basically make stuff with blocks, and I got like really excited for some reason. Maybe I remember my childhood, and I started building levels, and ended up in a year or two that the game asked me to build official levels for them. And then I built like some like complex things like racetracks with triggers, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do, right? And then that game kind of collapsed. So I was like, okay, so
not because of the artwork you did, not because of the work you did at all.
And it collapsed right after I finished all the levels, official levels and everything.
Yeah.
And then I was like, when I found Upland, well, I already told you, like first couple of months, I thought I was playing by myself in a single player game. For some reason.
I've heard that story before, so I don't think everybody has. So this idea of, hey, I thought this was just my own instance and all these things floating around me with bots, and I didn't think these were actually human beings.
Yeah, because there's no interaction. There's no chat.
Yeah.
And there was just boxes. You buy boxes for imaginary money, which you can buy for real money like in any other game, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I didn't know like, blockchain game, right? I didn't know every transaction you ever make is going to be recorded, right? And then when I started looking for some answers, and I found a YouTube video where Ben was talking about UDU and all that stuff, and I was like, oh wow, this is like my world just like exploded. I was like, this is totally different. And then when the 3D design challenge came, and I was like, well, I really want to participate, but I don't know any 3D at all. So yeah, it was a hard journey with Lily and Desjack helping me, and I was gonna quit a few times, but then it just became like something I want to do, and I even like at some point I had a decision to make, so I quit my graphic designer job, and I started focusing on 3D. So you took the Upland experience with the 3D, you left the graphic design field, and then you focused on your real life work more on the 3D side of things. Yeah. There's other things like I do my shows, right? So during COVID, when there's nothing, all my entertainment work stopped. So I did graphic design for 20 years. So I just joined a company, worked for a year, and it was just fun experience. Yeah, so,
it was fun. That's a Canadian expression for it. It really wasn't great.
But because it's just like very, not very creative. Yeah. So, but then like the graphic design was just going nowhere with AI. So I was like, should I start going, deeper into 3D before it becomes all AI? So it kind of like, it feels like racing against time. But it changed my world because you can actually participate in game creation in that way, right? And not just game. Like I've done a few projects for companies. So I've like, if you asked me 3 years ago that I'd ever be doing 3D, I'd be like, what's 3D?
Were you ever going to be doing 3D? No. So 3 years ago, you had no experience with 3D. 3 years ago was something you didn't think you were directly in. And then probably a year getting into Upland with the 3D, gone. That's your life.
So, so I tried that first Master Builders contest. Yep. One building got lost, two lost. Yep. and then right after I was like, oh, well, that's it. And then Ben and Cheese were like, why don't you join Samurai Aquatics? I'm like, well, I made 3 models in my life. You want me to make models for you? They're like, yeah. So that was the start of the journey. And should I just go on about my journey?
Oh, keep going. This is a story, Detech. This is a story. You keep going the story because that takes you up to how you got involved. And again, the next part of that saga obviously is getting into the next Master Builders and building the skills on the Blender side, and then magic.
So after Master Builders, I joined Samurai Aquatics, and we were doing map assets.
With who?
And
with who?
it
with
was
whom?
with the Ben and Cheese, and
more cheese, yes.
And then it was a lot of work back and forth with Upland because they didn't know what it's going to be, and I just kept bringing them designs, and they were saying you can't do this, so I did a few models with water, which you're not supposed to.
Nope, can't do
and
that.
then I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do water. So it was back and forth, and we had to redesign things many times because requirements kept changing, and it was a half a year of like struggling because I had to learn, Blender terms, have to like all this back, but it gave me like so much experience in terms of what the game developers need and from you. So, and then we basically later on we got the first set kind of out. So a few other there was 10 better shops. A few of them had some items, but we had like a whole set already made.
That was huge. You had the 10 that hit, and everyone else was like struggling for one or two.
Yeah, and but it was so much work because each one of those, right now, each one of those models I can do like in a few hours, but back then it took me days and days of. And then I don't know if you remember the Rio Ornament Challenge came out. And at that point, I was like, okay, now I know how to do 3D. Let's go. And it was a kind of a carnival theme, so I thought it was my theme. And I think I got 5 out of 8 or 6.
5 out of 8. Some people did not get the ones that were winners. That's what happened.
Yeah, the only model was through you that didn't get in. The weird one.
That's exactly what happened. The only model that you put out that did not get through. Yes.
Oh, one got lost also.
Oh yeah, one got lost. There was that too.
But one thing, if anybody listening who's doing 3D for Upland, if you ever have a contest, try to hand in your stuff as soon as you can. Don't wait till the last day, because the Rio challenge, I think almost half of the models got lost. The ones that were later on, so it's always different. So, but
get in early and it actually works, right? Hopefully, maybe kind of.
So the prize from this contest gave me enough to build my factories and showrooms, which is now my base in my hub in LA, where I produce everything. So if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have anything to build with because wasn't like a big player. So after that, kept making stuff for Summer Aquatics, then made some stuff for Cheese. We did the whole like set for Cheese's Mad Adventure. And then they announced carts. And I was like, I really want to make a cart. Right?
Yeah.
So again, it was, how they announced it and that was really quiet.
Yep.
That whole time when it was quiet, I looked at the files. There was lots of errors. So I sent it to them and we had a back and forth. Then I made my model and it wasn't working. It wasn't, because there was issues. So 3 times back and forth and 3 times they updated the files. And then it got all quiet. So, and then they asked for my model to work with, to set things.
Yep. And
I also told Antique, so he sent his model, and those 2 models were the ones that came out.
There you go.
At the first. And now I have 3 more models in, but it's got really quiet. So I'm hoping during Genesis maybe, because there's cards. So maybe they
wake up and like, hey, we gotta approve some of these because they're trying to push the cars and the transportation. Yeah, but I mean, they're trying to push planes. I mean, they took your carts and they put them in the back burner, and then now get the planes. You got planes now.
So that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, but a few days ago, I got an email that one of my latest models was accepted, approved. Yeah. I didn't get it for the first 2, so now I'm thinking maybe those are lost. But fingers crossed. So
Okay,
so there was another Master Builders, and I went all out on that one.
Yep.
But I don't have a very good ratio of winning.
Yeah.
I won three Master Builders contests with 3 buildings, but I think I made like around 17 buildings altogether.
Here's the thing: there's people who've made like 10 buildings and they've won 0. So I would say you've got a much better ratio than some people.
But I just wanted to say, all the stuff coming out with UGC now, it's some models are like, wow, like there's some guys that have much more skill than me. And I'm kind of glad, because the community is so tight. Like I helped quite a lot of people along the way.
Yep.
And then like, oh, you helped someone, because people could be artists and they already know how to do 3D, but it's the part where you have to know how to make it for Upland.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's of course much easier with all the Git book and all the details. Well, people don't realize before there was none of it.
That's what I gotta get into. I mean, without to derail the Detech saga so much, I do want to get more into the saga, because again, this is a story people want to know, and people ask questions about how did you get into it and how did you do this, how did you do that, and they're asking the question because A, they're interested, but B, they want to look at how can I get involved, or how can I grow. But I want to derail you just a little bit, because I want to take that derail and say the Git book and the better information, the better communication, that stems back to certain individuals on the list who are in the UGC and putting comments in and questions in and asking for things and asking for documentations. And you were one of those voices. Detech was high on the list. Dejac was high on the list.
Dejac, yeah.
Yeah. I know people like More Cheese asking.
Yeah.
How do I submit this? Do I have to make these changes? Give me better information. Like the 3 of you, I know there's a few others that right there along the way, asking the questions in a constructive way and trying to get those answers. And it's kudos. It's kudos for all 3 of you. It's kudos for all the other ones involved, because that's how the team knew to put better information out in the Git book, and that's how they knew how to answer questions better. So
I actually spent time with Upland with the Git book. They sent it to me, and then I was like saying what I don't understand, what I do. Like, so we had quite a lot of back and forth, and it was fun, but because also for me, because to me it's all valuable information. Because I want to do 3D.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, now if I ever get a job, I have like a first-hand experience with working with games.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because you don't find experience like that. But anyways, so there's a fine line, because you never know when you're pushing it with the questions and bugging them. As you know, Desjack is always feeling like she's pushing too far.
Oh, she says things like, there's no way Upland will let me get nominated for Uplander of the year or whatever, because she thinks that she upset the team to a degree.
Yeah. Because she's very pushy, and I admit a lot of the time you're like, okay, Desjack's pushing it, so we'll just stand aside and let her take all the heat.
Well, that's the thing, is you just stand behind her and make her the human shield and just let her and you can keep throwing some comments in there left and right, like fix that, fix that.
That's what we do.
But as long as she's taking all the heat, I had her on Saturday, and as long as she's taking all the heat, it makes it easier for you guys, right?
Yeah, and
not on the grill.
Let's not forget she created the donut. So the donut was the place where when there was no communication with Upland, this was the place where we, because after the first time they opened the UGC channel was during the first Master Builders.
Yeah.
And all the 3D artists started talking.
Yeah.
And then after the concert, they shut it down.
Yeah.
And there was this real quiet moment where like, but this was so great. We can't chat anymore.
Yeah, they created a channel so that the designers could say, what's working, what's not working, ask questions, get shared answers. And that was a great thing. And they're like, okay, contest is done. We don't need that anymore. And the donut kind of aimed to do a similar thing. And you did some stuff with the donut. I know you did some explainer videos for getting started in Blender.
I did one video. Desjack and lots of other people were bugging me for a long time to explain how I did the map assets, because there's no Git book yet.
Yeah.
Actually, there was when I made the video, but they were asking before that.
Yep.
But the thing is, I've never done any kind of video, so so she was like, Detech was like, okay, you do it, I'll edit it. So I'd just like to say that she put a lot of work into it to make it look
like a video.
And even though the what do you call it, the prerequisites or standards, whatever you need to, the requirements are different now.
Yep.
A lot of people still go through that video, and they keep asking me for a new one for like the cart or
where's the video for the cart?
It just takes a lot of time. I don't have a mic on my PC right now. But it's also right now it's easier to understand. Like I actually explained it to, like, the reason why I made the video was because I spent hours talking to people through the process. I had like this like folder with screenshots and explanation. Once I made the video, it was so much easier because I just send the video and people are like, thank you, I understand. I was like, because instead of making stuff, I was, explaining.
Well, that was the thing you were doing for a long time. And again, I don't know if this contributes to the Designer of the Year nomination or not. For a very long time, people would ask you a question and you would take the time and say this and this and this and this. And the problem with that is you're doing it from scratch every time, as opposed to hey, check this video I put together. Yeah.
But now, because there's so many, and also because most of us were learning Blender, we had a lot of questions. Just how do you do this? And Lily was always there because she knew how to do 3D.
She did it for 20 years. She used Blender for literally.
Yeah. So Lily was a great help back then. And now we see her less because she's making all the items and producing them.
I remember for like a year she was like, "No, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to have a shop. I'm not going to be a designer." And then poof, she's got her own shop. So that's a lot of what she's contributing now in Upland.
And she hunted a lot of sparks, so she has something to work with.
that was key there, right? Having the spark to do the things you need to do.
Yeah, and where was I? I forgot.
I think you were telling me about the fish that's eating your head. That's what you were telling me about.
Yeah.
Look at that.
This is the fish I used. The first interview that I ever had was with More Cheese.
The one and only.
Yeah.
I do. And the fish and the spider.
And she made the picture I used for my avatar is from what she made.
Yeah,
it was with the fish. And back then I didn't do any 3D yet, so and they were saying this is like the before interview.
Yeah,
they should go back to that.
Yeah, but it was the before it all happened, and it was part of where she appreciated. I mean, you and all the things in that you were already doing as far. Was that before Master Builders or after you had?
Way before. It was. Yeah. She was teaching me how to make NFTs on wax and all that stuff. So I got approved, and I started drawing. So this is kind of funny because the whole Upland process was just all over the place. Yeah. Most of us didn't know what we were gonna do, and I probably, like, when I was starting Blender, I was just doing it for the contest. Like I wasn't thinking I'd like it, but I started, and it was just like. It's like, this is what I want to do. Why didn't I start, earlier when I was in my teens?
Well, that was the thing too. Is you started out. I know you did some wax and you did a few NFTs, and they were great. I mean, but that wasn't the same scale as when you started working and building things in Upland. And I know you had a number of 3D objects or 3D assets. The cart being one of them that I think you sold through the entire run at that point, right? Or just
what?
I said you ended up building a run, and then you end up selling through the majority of some runs. Some of these runs, every mint number sold at this point. So it's really pushing that scale.
Oh yeah. It's a lot. It's just a lot of fun because also, like, Upland is like a mystery. We don't know when it's gonna go, but I just wanted to say
when it's gonna change or what's gonna stay the same.
Yeah, one of my friends came over who started, like, when I started playing with 6 of my friends in real life. And because we were mining crypto, we were all into crypto, and all of them quit You know, one of them was he's what do you call it? Engineer. And he's like, I'm like, dude, you can do 3D and everything you already know. He's like, you want me to work after work? He's like, I'm not playing Google Map with you. And he left. And 2 years now, like he came over a month ago, and he looked it up and he's like, wow, this is actually looking good. Because there's buildings now, there's you know, all this like different other projects inside Upland. And as you know, like a year ago, Upland got so confusing with so many things because people coming out don't realize that it was just like one event, another event. Everything was simple, kind of stable. And now there's just so much, like some people do this, some people do that.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be that idea of an extension or a portion of the metaverse, and metaverse being it's big. You can go and do all these things. It's a place where you can live your life, whatever that life is.
Yeah.
So it's just starting to get to that potential, but art's a huge part of it. And for me, UGC is huge. So contributions on the UGC side, you worked with More Cheese, you worked with Samurai Aquatics, and now you've got a bunch of Detech, which is, you know, you've got your own carts that are going out. What's next? What's next on the map assets that I'm missing? What are you gonna do in 3D objects that we don't know about or see yet?
So the problem is because I work with Cheese, I work with Ben, I work with then every contest. There was a contest with the not pajamas. What do you?
Pajamas, the wearables,
the sweaters.
Oh, I've got one of those. Yeah, the sweaters.
And again, like I was like, oh, I'm a graphic designer. And again, I went all in because I learned how to do clothing and all that. Like it's a little different, right? I've used textures and did a few tutorials, and I ended up winning 5 out of 10.
Yep.
So that was kind of fun because it's a whole, and then it got all quiet. So there's a few people like Tosshead and Desjack. I know they're waiting for wearables.
Yeah.
And Tosshead, I think he has like a whole bunch of like things already made. And
sure.
And I was like, I want to get into that. So the problem is because I'm all over the place. So far, I made just 2 different map assets and, you know, 1 cart in the game. And I made 0 ornaments, even though I have like a huge factory, showroom, everything ready.
Yeah.
So kind of after Genesis, I think I'm going to go to my fan base and my server and just ask them what they want made.
Make some Detech stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of like already set the kind of standard as what I'm going to do with my map assets. Like the theme, I mean, so I'm going to make like technical stuff kind of thing. Yep. So I limit myself, but at the same time, kind of want to get a theme going. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very slow. So there's lots of room to think about things.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that because, I mean, a lot of what you've done is you put a little more detail in that I've seen in some other cases, and you make sure technically it works and it looks good, and you know, make sure the angles work and that you actually hit the parameters that Upland's asking for, so that when it shows up on the map, it doesn't have any glitches or it doesn't look weird like it's been stretched, and you actually make sure it fits the sizing, which does show in the product, but that does take time.
Yep, and it's also because I'm slow. But
it's also because I'm slow.
Because you know, there's the 4th guy who got nominated, Charlie, the first player.
Charlie, yep. Charlie FR.
I just realized because I was talking to him and also trying to help him when he was starting. I looked at how many map assets he made.
Ton.
I'm like, I made like 2, and now I'm making a building, but. Like the thing is with me, I over obsess with these. Like for example, this Genesis Design Challenge, I redone one building 4 times and one 2 times.
Yeah,
and I just went like I tried to do as maximum as I can do with in terms of detail and everything. Also because I want to make things for my portfolio if I ever go, you know, like.
Game design,
and because I want to push like kind of the limits of what can be in Upland.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking about like later on, like when we're gonna see it up close, right? try to get it from all angles. You know, if it's a building, what is it going to look like when you come to the door, right? Because I'm hoping one day it's going to be, you know, more of 3D. Already, like when you're in a cafe shop, right, and you look outside, you see the buildings from a completely different angle.
Yep.
Then, so you got to design them like kind of for the future.
Don't see them don't see them as a top down. You don't see them at the whatever 45 degree. You're seeing them at the street level. Yeah, exactly.
And I guess it's kind of like self-inflicted thing, because Upland, you know, sometimes they're very strict. Sometimes there's gaps of time where things get in where you're like, how did that get in? So I kind of try to look at from Upland's perspective. They have, you know, how the game got out of control where you don't, only you probably and a few other people can keep track of everything that's going on.
It's a daily process, and I'll be 100% honest with you. If I did not put out a show on a daily basis, it would be hard to see every single announcement and you know, talk to people or reach out to people who can answer those questions, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing it every day. Yeah.
So from being like with another game, in kind of knowing the game developing process, I don't understand how they do it. Like, it's just so many. Each one aspect is like a game. So they kind of they're doing this and then that and this, and then some things are like on a hold, like the totems, while they do other things, and it's it's I don't know. It's a lot of, it's very chaotic, and a lot of things, and they all have to kind of go together, right, and not.
Well, yes, I mean, to some degree, or they have to pace them so that one thing is not taking the place of another, or preventing that from happening. Yeah.
So I try to be understanding, and if I can help in some way, you know, like I try to help, like, and when I can see it, like when with the cards, when I saw the files, and I was like, this is not working, right? From experience, from your making, and I think if I wasn't pushing, maybe it would like even it would take longer, because I was just very I wanted to get the card done, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, from the experience from the back from map assets when it was starting, I knew there was a lot of back and forth trying to figure out. So I always kind of try to think that Uplands wants to see UGC and wants to see people kind of like putting things forward, then they know there's interest.
And I'll be honest, what I've heard them say recently, and this is 100% true because we've seen some examples of it, is they're okay with getting pushback if it's constructive, because they take some of that pushback and they say, oh, so you want to see it like this, or you think we can do it like that? And if they can use that input, they do.
Yeah. And first of all, it makes their work kind of easier. Well, not easier, but more like, you know, faster. They can do things faster. They know where to hit. Like, for example, you know, like when the first beta shops, they applied for them like a year or 2 years before.
It was a year. It was almost 2 years. Yeah.
And the only reason it got pushed forward is because of the outcry. People were like, what? So Upland was, I'm guessing, was like, okay, so people want this, right? Because if nobody would say anything, and it's like, okay, you know, they have a million other things they have to put energy into, right? So this is the way I kind of treat it, as we, you know, if they're gonna say like, hey, you know, you guys want to design planes, you know, right?
And the cards, forget about those cards. We're doing planes now. Let's go.
And then, like, if everybody's like, okay, we'll wait for you to give us all the details, and you know, and so I'm gonna be like, let's make a plane. That's it.
Let's make a plane. Yeah. No, for sure. And so let's make a plane. That's and again, that's the exciting thing, right? The newest, exciting, most exciting, the shiniest thing. That's where everyone's gonna go. And I think that's definitely been, I don't know, call it a fault or call it a benefit, because if you put your energy in that, that's what's going to be successful, and that's where a lot of people want to see is the newest and the shiniest.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, when they put out the monster trucks, I think that was a big hit. So now everybody's like, what's going to happen with this, right? Because and I think if they go there, it's going to be good, right? But in a way, it's any way they go. Planes they go is going to be good, right? Because it's anyways, we'll see.
We'll see. But so I do want to circle back to a little bit of the Detech journey. So of course, you say like my success rate isn't that good. How many structures do you have in the game of Upland? Just give me a hint. I think you have.
Okay, so I have 3 buildings.
Yep. How many map assets?
Map assets. Well, there's 1 arrow which has.
Well, not just the Detech ones, but all the ones.
Okay.
12, I don't know. 14, 16, 18.
Maybe 20 with Samurai Aquatics.
Yeah.
About 16 with cheese.
Yep. And I know you work with cheese as a collaboration, so between the pixel art and the 3D structure. Yep. Two arrows left and right, so it's like 1 model, and then 1 arrow with lots of colors that I made. Yeah. And 1 cart. Yep. And all I have now is just 3 carts waiting and nothing new. Because I have to. Now I'm thinking I have to go make something a fence for Ben. Yeah. And then I don't know. So I always feel guilty because I signed up, so I'm their partner, and yeah. Ben keeps telling me think about yourself first. but I'm making a model. I'm like, but I gotta make a model, there. And again, I think I only made 1 model, which was fast. Yeah. So I technically can make a model in a day. Yeah. And at one point I was like, why don't I make a model a day, right? So, but I just why aren't you making it quicker, Detech? Why not quicker? It's just every time, like with this Genesis design challenge. Yeah. I want to push the limit. I want to there's all these stuff I learned, right? And I know how to do now. And every new model just takes longer. I don't know. It's. She's just saying that there's this white wooden gate that's getting made. She doesn't know what's going on with it. Oh. Notice the JK smiley face. I think she's picking on you. I think you're fine. Yeah. I just finished the past 5 weeks. I don't know how my wife is handling this. It's really been a lot lately. And because with the Genesis Design Challenge, I took a few nights. I went to sleep at like 4. We had to wake up at 7, and I'm a vegetable, and she just I told her today it's done. Yeah, it's gonna be a break for now. Yeah. I didn't tell her, if I win, I have to make more, and you hopefully tell her that. We don't know. but it's fun, and I'm hoping it's gonna go somewhere. Yeah, I think it is. So and that was an interesting thing because I understand, but you say, I haven't gotten that many things. So I think you're about as prolific as most. I mean, you've got 60 assets in that you designed at this point when you add everything up. The number of structure ornaments you have in is more than anybody. I think that's fair. No. I have 6. It's only the ones that won during the Rio Carnival. So 5 or 6. That's the only time you won structure ornaments? I thought you won structure ornaments another time too. The first the Genesis one, I lost everything. You won. Yep. So it just, and then there wasn't any more competitions. Okay. It was just the Masters builders that you went. Yeah. Well, there's only 2 ornament contests, I guess. Yeah. And the one before I ever started. Yeah. So essentially more structural ornaments in the game than anybody else that were official layer 1 Upland as opposed to UGC. I think. Yeah. Layer 1, yes. Yeah. But no, probably because there's a first contest, right? And there's but I don't think anyone has anywhere near 6. But anyways. Yeah. But now lots of people have different ornaments. There's so many. I keep looking and I keep finding new map assets that come out. It's like, oh wow, there's just so much. Yeah. Soon I'm probably not going to be able to catch up with that side either. Oh yes, there's some people who have these themes already going, and they've made 8 or 10 for that theme, and then they go, okay, I'm about to start my next theme, and they're gonna do 8 or 10 for that theme as well. Yeah. So I also decided I can't compete there. I'm not. Yeah,
I'm not going for
quantity.
quantity.
The quantity is
Yeah.
not the game, right?
Yeah, so I'm just going for, like, with the arrows. It was I was gonna do it because I wanted things to point on the map.
Yeah,
Just even for myself. So I'm kind of like.
Well, the racetrack thing is fun. To have those
Yeah.
pointing arrows for the racetrack, absolutely.
Yeah, there's one in Rio racetrack and Joa node. Like I put them like I think over 50, and I gave it out to all the members who have property. So there's a lot of on that racetrack.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to also see how it looks like.
yeah.
Of course, you want to see more. Like there's also people who make fences. There's one of my favorite part of UGC when people come up with new stuff. They're like, "Hey, you want to trade?" And I'm like, I'm always up. So I have like a few properties which are just stacked with all the different stuff from different people.
Oh, really? So it's like 1-for-1 trades, and now you've got that you're curating.
Yeah, and it's also cool because when you're like for my Berlin building, the one it was the first one constructed.
Echoes of Berlin.
Yeah, so I wanted to make a fence, and I started doing a theme around it. And once you start trying to get your property with a theme, you start realizing how many more things you need.
Yeah. Well,
and the cool part is like I was like,
you need a mailbox, right? You need a mailbox that matches. You need
and then somebody has the statues, somebody has this, somebody has a bench, right? And it matches the theme, and you're like, and there's actually a few people which are like hardcore making their properties look, and they look good, which is like. They actually look good, and I was shocked because they make their own stuff, they use other stuff, and they have their theme, and this is what Upland is probably going to look like in a couple of years, and I'm waiting for it.
Well, in a couple of years, we'll have green grass on the lawn. That's going to help, and then everyone will be they'll have 10 map assets of fences that surround their lawn, and they'll have little lawn gnomes out there, and they'll have sidewalk coming up the front, and 2 years might be long enough for people to be able to tap on the door and go inside the house.
Yeah, and then maybe also you'll be able to sell your property with map assets on it.
and you'd have to press a little button that says include these in the listing or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just have to remove them before you hit the listing. One or the other. Those are your two options.
I had a few people, you know how you do collection trades? So, so like, hey, let's do this, and this. I'm like, this one, no. It's like, why not? It's like, oh, I have map assets on it. It's like, so move it. I'm like, no, I have like this one of my junkyards. It has over 100 map assets. I'm not moving it.
You don't realize how long it's going to take, sir. You don't realize.
No, and I was scared. I was actually scared to produce my own stuff because every time, Ben would tell me about the nightmares, how, okay, now I'm going to watch racing and move map assets for 2 hours. And then tomorrow after work, I have to move stuff for 2 hours. And you're like,
what? You schedule it. You have to schedule it into your time to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spend an hour or two moving stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And that's part of life. Like I have a whole bunch of stuff on my factories which I haven't moved yet. Like I have a whole bunch of arrows. I have to move them, put them on sale.
Yeah.
And for 3 weeks while I was in Blender, I was like, I just don't have the time. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Upland gives the move multiple items button at some point, please.
Yeah, and Cheese's point, 100%. Cheese right on is I could imagine. Here, gone. Cheese. Now it's down. I could imagine people being like, I accidentally left a property, on my property, this and this map asset, and I accidentally sold it. The guy who bought it is happy because he got all these map assets at floor price of the city. But I could see
they could go to your inventory.
They could. Would they automatically pull off and go back to the seller's inventory? Yeah, they could.
Yeah, that would be. I think that's the. Maybe you could indicate it later. If you don't. But then it gets tricky because people are buying the property. They're thinking they're getting all the map. Yeah,
Upland's gonna figure this out. It's one to get figured out for sure as we move forward. So that's kind of where you've been, where you're at. What does again? We talked about this idea that you were nominated last year, nominated this year. This year it happens to work out for you going to Genesis Week. Is this year again? You have a little different scope of what you did 2020. 4 as opposed to 2023. I mean, again, including the fact that you have your own card out, including the fact that you have your own map asset, even though it's not a lot, these are ones that are in your name and not just collaborations. What's different this year than last year?
The card coming out was the biggest thing, I think, because it first of all, it was the first card, UGC card, and I actually made 1,000 so I could sell them cheap. So I lowered the price. Like now it's, I think, a standard kind of, it's the cheapest vehicle, but it's not too cheap. Anyways, figuring out the price was really tough. But a whole bunch of people flocked to my server. And it was one of the first inspiring kind of parts, because people actually liked the cart. The way it looks, and that was my point that I was trying to do. There's a whole bunch of things that I've never done before, which I did with the cart. There's reflective it's just different, right? And it just felt like I was so waiting. When I was waiting, I made a video so it was my first huge render video, which took almost a month to render from my PC. So I was waiting and I was preparing.
The video took a whole month.
Yeah, rendering. I have an old video card.
Oh yeah.
For the Antique Master, the first money he made, he bought a video card.
Yeah.
And now he's like, "Oh, why don't you bake in 8K?" It's really nice. So I just set that up on my computer, and my Blender just shut down. I made the first money with the card, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a video card, and I used it for paying bills. So,
exactly. For something else.
So I'm waiting, when I need it.
Yeah.
But I lost track again.
Oh yeah.
No, it's the card was the big point where people kind of. It was a little different, a higher kind of. And I guess it is just the beginning. And I also understand why, at first, people are like, why cars? Why can't we make cars, right?
Yeah.
But as you know, with cars, there's a certain style. And it's very hard to follow for people who are, you don't have the... And with cars, at some point, I was like, well, this is actually really great, right? Because you can... And one of the things I love to do is in creating my own stuff. So I sit there, I experiment, I redo things to see what works, what I want to do, and there's just so hello?
No, you got to keep going.
Oh, I heard somebody say hello.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a show, sir. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so I'm just excited because this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create stuff, and Upland sort of gave us this, and we can create stuff. Same with this Genesis Design Challenge. What people from outside of UGC don't understand is it's different. They let you do many things that you weren't allowed with buildings. So I actually asked a few questions, and I'm doing something a little different.
Yeah.
Not like a fancy creating. I don't want to spoil it yet, but there's some things different, and I'm very excited
about the structure, or about
structure. One thing, for example, windows. You don't you won't touch the windows. You have a certain color.
And you asked Upland, can I do this a little differently? And they said,
yes.
Oh yeah, get going, do it.
And first I wanted to go all out fancy, but it didn't work out, so I had to redo my model a few times.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere, it's still same color, but I'm doing something more, which I wanted. So I'm basically doing the theme that I wanted. That's why it also took so long.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do. And it's something I'm going to be using this model for something else if it doesn't work out, right? If we don't win. So
well, assuming all the standards stay the same.
Yeah. No. Even for my own worlds or whatever.
Oh, you're talking about in video game design or outside of Upland even.
Because this time I made something not just for Upland, but something they wanted to see what you want, right? So this is the first time that we get this artistic freedom.
Yeah. So this is Detech structure. This is what Detech wants to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is next level. So I like it that they're going this whole neighborhood, right? Build your own neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's awesome idea.
I think it's a great idea because I think it's that idea of consistency, right? This idea that we have one design that's going to be carried over between multiple structures. It's really cool. And the idea that's tied to one neighborhood specifically, I think it's limiting, but it's still very cool because now it's a character. It's a character of a specific neighborhood. And now that neighborhood has that character that no other neighborhood has.
Yeah. So this got me really excited when Bermuda came out with the buildings. I was like, oh, this is new, right? Yeah. So, but nobody expected that they're going to let us do that. So this is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So, I mean, on your part, you know, you mentioned your community and the kind of this idea going to the Detech server, Detech workshop server, I should say, and kind of kicking things off, being a little excited there. What's that been like? Because as far as you have your own community, I mentioned you've done things with other people on the UGC side with Upland, where they have the channel and you can go and interact with the team and interact with other players. You've been a big help there. What's it like having the community over at Detech Workshop, and what have you been doing over there?
I started a long time ago when I was giving out NFTs, my daughter's pictures. So I had this game where people guessed what she actually drew.
I remember.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I stopped because I had no time right now because I'm doing like raffles like crazy all the time, and one of the things I want to give out my models to everyone, kind of thing. Yeah. And people want them, and it works out really great. So. Yeah, but it's really time consuming. Yeah. Raffles take up a lot of time.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of people you've been able to, like, again, people have some interaction with. Are you getting any suggestions over there? Any feedback? Any communication? Any community at all?
In terms of 3D, not so much, but in other, like, there's lots of. I got a problem right now with my server because it became active. There's a lot of spam coming in. Oh, yeah. And all of it is, like porn spam.
That stuff. Yes.
I had to take 2 days to actually learn how to set up more security on my server. It was bad. Right?
I've seen some Upland servers get taken over by that stuff recently. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's a plague.
Yeah, it's a plague. It's a plague.
So it's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping. It's just a fun community, like meeting people. Like, one of the things is Uplands, everybody's so like different corners of the world. So it's just a lot of fun meeting people and working with. I'd say in these 3 years, I made more friends in Upland that I did in real life.
Can I tell you a secret? Let me tell you a secret. Okay, ready? Yeah. Your Upland friends are your real friends. There you go.
They are. They really are. Yeah. Like, I'm just great people, and you're also doing same thing, which is in real life. Like, I have really good friends, but none of our interests collide anymore. So it's fun. Yeah. I just want to say I have 3% on my battery, and I have
my God, we're gonna die by battery. Yeah. I just did this with the Jacques last week too. Death by battery. I do want to ask you a couple things, and we'll let this death by battery happen. If it's okay with you, it's okay with me. But I want to ask you a couple things. I mean, what are you looking forward to in 2024, 2025 in Upland, either for yourself, for the future of Upland, for things popping in, for the potential for UGC creators as a whole, whatever it is?
So, as you already know, remember when Spatial came into Upland for just one. I started making my own worlds, and I forgot about Upland for a month or two because I started creating airships and everything.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for Upland to get into internal spaces. So now with the Nowhere, it's not as developed, but it's getting there. And I know I don't want to get like started with it because I'm gonna get just flooded and go all into it. I'm waiting for this to hit home, Upland, to start getting into your own spaces and hopefully other projects as well. Like, I'm actually on a team with one of the hackathon projects.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. You're on one of the hackathon teams. Is it a finalist?
Yes, but I'm doing a very small part. I don't want to take any credit for it, but I'm gonna, help as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all these hackathon projects, and they're really, really good now.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't good last year, but a lot of them are very ambitious and take a lot of work. Like Desjack's, the Raiders.
Oh my God, it's a whole game. It's a whole game.
It's oh my God, 30 seconds. I got to get ready.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
30 seconds to get ready.
Batteries going to die.
Okay. So there's that. Yeah, before the batteries die. Oh, we're getting ready. Okay. So but before your batteries are gonna die, I do want to come back to this coalescing point that I've been making with everybody who's been nominated is Genesis Week. You're going this year. What does that mean for that nomination to you? What are you looking forward to at Genesis Week? What are you thinking? Oh, I lost him. What are you thinking about for Genesis Week 2024 live in person for yourself? Oh, and there he goes. Genesis Week 2024. We will see the one and only Detech because he is able to make it in person this year. We'll see more from him from live from the stage, maybe being honored as the Designer of the Year, potentially. We know he is a nominee. We know there are other nominees. And of course, it is a great way to go out to see that frozen screen of Detech with some glowing goggles in the dark, saying goodbye to you all tonight. And I do want to just put a couple of notes in here and thoughts. And I will touch on a couple of things in Upland Daily News. Might as well touch them because I wanted to focus so much on my time with Detech tonight. But, looking forward to Genesis Week 2024. It's great to have all of these participants, all of these individuals who have been nominated and for good reasons, and to hear those stories. And I'm going to continue to do this. We have a couple other nominees to get through in the next couple of weeks. May not get into everyone. I know some people aren't as comfortable jumping on camera. For those who are, we'd love to see you. If I haven't contacted you yet, let's find a time. Let's make it work. Let's have that conversation, and let's talk about your experience headed up into Genesis Week 2024 this year and your experience of being nominated. And of course, thank you so much, Detech, for the opportunity, for the time, for jumping in tonight. On Upland, we do have a couple pieces of news worth touching. Again, I see Detech typing in Discord. I'll see his note in just a minute. But just to jump in here on the news notes, definitely worth touching on two big things. Obviously, we had the finals today. We had the finals of Blossom Season Racing. To all the winners, congratulations on the Blossom Season Championship series. Those winners are going to be headed on over to the Championship series at the end of the year here in Genesis Week this year. But the bigger news, the out of the blue, kind of surprising, not too surprising. Upland kind of suggested that they were going to keep doing this, and it's positive. It's a positive news in many ways, and that is that Upland's making one of these. I call it an FSA expansion or an FSA Slough. I'll call it a Slough city. It's a city just to have these properties available that are lower cost that FSA players coming into the game of Upland can come into. And I say it's a Slough city, a little kind of off the side, get some extra properties. Not one that is too flashy or too exciting or has too many people jumping for joy that it's here, but still existing all the same. And obviously, Slough, it is. We're going to the city of Slough in the UK. We'll get into that. But the announcement today, due to the high number of newcomers in the game of Upland, and again, this is very positive that Upland's feels like they're running low on FSA properties. It feels like they have to bring more FSA properties in. We know there were new accounts that did come in because of the airdrop. Looking forward to more of these accounts the next time we have these airdrops. Looking forward to more viral or more, Twitter activity with that helping bring new people. And I know that's a strategy Upland's been working on. And the more people who come in, we need to have space for them. So we are excited to announce the opening of a new starter city. This time we're crossing the pond to the UK and unveiling the vibrant city of Slough. Unlike other vanilla city releases, this is going to be all collections are going to be known before the city of Slough is brought to the game. They're all going to be disclosed beforehand, allowing players to strategize their acquisitions and to complete information or with all complete information up front. The terminal sale, obviously. Thank you so much, Detech jumping in just to say thank you everybody who came in tonight. Mumble and lose track of things. No, Detech. It was great. Good to have you. We're going to have to do it again because we got cut off by technology. We got cut off by batteries, but we will do it again, Detech. But yeah, we are looking at, again, the Vanilla City release. A lot of people like to just speculate on collections, but that's not what we're talking about when we have these FSA expansion cities, these FSA, I'll call them Slough cities, these extra properties that are there just for people to get their first property or first couple properties in the game of Upland. They're not expensive, high demand properties. They're not properties with high UPX per UP2. They're meant to be opportunities for people who are entering the game to pick up some properties as they enter. For the terminal sale, we do see this terminal sale happening on Tuesday. The registration is going to be on Monday, May 20th, 8 a.m. PT. It's a 24-hour registration period until 8 a.m. PT on Tuesday. Then Tuesday, the 21st of May, this coming Tuesday, we will have that terminal sale at 9 a.m. PT. Pay attention so you don't miss out on this unannounced launch. And keep in mind, 85% of the properties are designated as FSA. So this is interesting. This last line here is interesting because Upland's argument on these is, these are meant to be extra properties. The reason why we're not announcing them ahead is because we don't want this to be a competitive property race. We don't want this to be like our vanilla cities where people are, really competing to mint those properties. And then they say, pay attention. This idea that, be ready. This is going to be a surprise. They want it to be a property rush. It's kind of playing the game from both sides. Yes, you are saying that this is there are properties that people are going to speculate and want to get into those neighborhoods and mint those collections, and they want to be there when they get there. By not announcing, obviously, people don't know when that is. It puts people in a weird position. I can't be up 24/7. I mean, as much as I might like to be, as many hours as I may be up during the week, it's not 24/7. But realistically, there's room for this. There's room for this in the game of Upland. There's room for having properties, or some cities, I should say, that have properties that drop when people don't know they're going to drop. There's room for it because it is a idea of luck of the draw. Somebody happens to be there. All of those things. The concern is it's an opportunity potential for having this exploitation, or these being exploited. You have people who are doing bots to try to keep track that may or may not follow the rules of the game of Upland. You have people who may or may not be trying to use multi-accounting to take advantage of the limited period of time to mint collection properties in these collection neighborhoods. And it is one of those things that we got to watch out for the exploits in the game of Upland. I've always said this idea that if you make a opportunity too rich and too lush and too easy to get into, or too tempting, that's when people are going to try to exploit those opportunities. That would be like if you had an ultra rare neighborhood and or ultra rare properties, and people wanted to mint those ultra rares, and now only way someone's going to be able to mint an ultra rare is if they make a fake account to mint an ultra rare FSA. We don't usually see ultra rare FSAs. I'll expect to ever see an ultra rare FSA, but we could see a rare or a exclusive where people spool up those FSA accounts, new fake accounts, new multi accounts, which are very much against the game of Upland. They will get all of your accounts, including your main account, banned. Don't do that, please, and please don't. I don't want anyone to go to Alcatraz, and I don't want that opportunity taken away from the rest of us who are trying to play the game cleanly, fairly, and according to TOS. But with that idea that, yes, I mean, the kind of the deficit, or kind of the fear that a lot of people feel on this is, when you have this type of situation, when you have those FSAs in these neighborhoods that might be high demand properties, you do sometimes you give people an incentive to not follow the rules, and a benefit if they choose not to do so. So that's kind of this idea of these quick drop release things that people are worried about. But again, the idea that if those weren't the case, is there room for some areas not to be planned or researched weeks in advance, and people not to be, setting their alarms for, this city is about to launch? Yeah, there is room for that in the game of Upland. I just hope that the people who do exploit these things don't take away the fun from those who don't. To maintain the integrity, we won't be announcing release times in advance, including for future neighborhood expansions. That Upland saying maintain integrity. I guess this idea is that they don't want individuals to come and go mint out this one area or another, to have these bot armies or these FSA multi accounts spooled up. But again, it's one of those things that once someone catches wind, and it's a question of who is going to catch wind and who is going to put that information out. And yes, Jen Skrilla, Detech is a savage all the time, all the effort, all the things he's put in. Very much putting a ton of effort into the game of Upland, and very much has done so. But of course, we will get Detech back at some point in the future. We'll be able to do that and have fun with him again. But this idea that we are looking at not having announced times, is that really going to cut down on cheating? I don't think so. I think we'll still see that unfortunately these get scooped up by suspicious accounts, and we see some accounts in the FSA side that are going to max out on minting these properties, and you're like, yeah, I don't see a new player coming in with 99,000 optics and minting all these really tiny small exclusives. I don't know. We'll have to see how that actually plays out, as that actually pans out. But it could be a multi-trap. As Cheese put that language out there, multi-trap. She said it a few times. I don't know if Upland's really thinking that much into it, but if they are, yeah, make sure you're following. If somebody does break the rules, we don't need them continuing to do so. It's a disincentivization to break the rules when you lose your main account and may lose that main account that may have millions of optics worth of properties. Good catch if Upland can do it. And again, this is something that we're looking at right here. Here's the city of Slough. I'm not sure we'll get a chance to talk to Banana about this, because maybe we'll get it released before we even get back around to the beginning of the week next week. But here we are. This is city of Slough in the UK. You can see that what we're looking at for our neighborhoods. It will be a neighborhood by neighborhood expansion. Upland is going to be giving again about 60% of the city is going to be opened at launch initially. So it'll be one boom hit. What we need to know for the city to expect: the number of properties that are coming up all at once, 18,402. If you're lucky and you are there when it opens, there are going to be neighborhoods that you're already going to know what those collections are. We can take a look at those, so you already know what you're going to be headed towards. Total properties in the first opening, 18,402. It is a FSA-driven city. 85% is FSA, so it's going to be an inexpensive city. When we look at send fees, 5 UPIX is the min send fee. 25 UPIX is the max. 10 is going to be the default. That's where everything's going to start at. If you don't change it at all, it'll stay at 10 UPIX for send fees. Treasure Hunt tiers, tier number 5, of course. There will be trading terminals. Yes, they will not be playing terminals. There's going to be 13 total neighborhoods on the release. Bayless and Salt Hill, Kelvey, Chippenham Manor. That's going to be an exclusive collection. Chippenham Manor. Obviously, if you're there when the city releases, you're probably going to go to Chippenham Manor, or maybe you won't, but it's an opportunity. Elliman, Farnham, which is a limited collection. Herschel Park, Langley Marish. We have Langley St. Mary's, Manor Park, and Stoke, Slough Central, Upton, which is a limited collection. Upton T. Oh, sorry, Upton Lee, not Upton T. Upton T. I could go for some right now. Upton Lee and Waxham Court. Collections for the initial opening. There's going to be 5 total collections. Slough. There's going to be a City of Slough city standard collection. The Chippenham Manor, that is going to be a neighborhood exclusive collection. There's going to be Farnham, which is a neighborhood limited collection. Upton is a neighborhood limited collection. And then the High Street. High Street is going to be a street collection rare. So I'm going to see that's going to be high speculation. If you're going to want to be in the UK to be ready to do this and just hang out, watch your phone all the time. Did it release? Did it release? Did it open up? Did it open up? Is it released? Is it released? You could be doing so, but expect this to fall again. Upland's done crazier things in the past, but I expect that collection, not the collection, I expect the terminal sale to happen before we have the city, because it doesn't look like Upland's really talking about sneaking these shadow terminals in. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll see things pop up in shadow terminals and you can start transferring in with shadow terminals. But I think more than likely when that terminal sale happens, that's when we're going to see the ability to travel in and kick in. Landmarks available. They're obviously not going to be available immediately, but landmarks will be in this area. We'll have St. Ethelbert's Church, and St. Mary's Church. Terminal sale. The registration and sale of the terminal will only be registered and sold in the web version of the game. The properties will be transferred to the person who successfully completes the purchase. This is a new thing. Previously, people had won these They got the opportunity. They took the Upix. They did other things with the Upix. They came back 2 weeks later and maybe minted. So it was an interesting strategy. It was something that people had done for a long time. But Upland wants these to be minted, and they're going to force them to be minted because if you win the opportunity, the property is going to be transferred to you and it's going to be put in your portfolio. So no more of the leaving the terminals unminted. That was a strategy people played. It affected people's ability to get into these cities or out of these cities once they were minted. And that strategy has kind of been curtailed a little bit by Upland changing how this works, or changing that mechanism of dropping them directly into asset wallets. Slough train terminals will be 10 total of $475 a piece. Registration, like I said, Monday the 20th, 8 a.m. PT. Sale is going to be Tuesday the 21st, 9 a.m. PT. It's randomized opportunity. Register, find out where you have the place. In between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the 21st, you'll see an email. You'll be able to see how many people are ahead of you. And if you got a good position, good luck. You can have a terminal for $475. With 85% of these properties designated as FSA, Slough provides an excellent opportunity for new players to build their portfolio. Pay attention so you don't miss out on the unannounced launch. Happy hunting, Uplanders. So one more note on the unannounced launch. A lot of these collections, especially when you get into the higher collections like exclusive, you're going to see that these collections, exclusive rares and ultra rares, and we don't see ultra rares here, but exclusive rares and ultra rares, the multiplier when they're applied for the classic releases, for the vanilla releases, they're going to put the prices so high that they're not going to be qualified anyways as FSA. It's going to pull them out of the FSA bracket. Even though the city's built around FSAs, those high-end collections are going to be for the existing players. So ultimately, this is a little bit of a game of a race of who sees it first and who gets there. If you're keeping your eyes open, you're open at 2 o'clock and they're open at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's when it releases, then you can hop in the city and you can go mint some of those exclusives if you choose to do so. Keep in mind, I had a bunch of exclusives in the city of DC that sat there. On Wisconsin Street, the exclusive properties, they were 100,000 Upix and up, but they were sitting there for a long time, for days, with people not minting them. So we've already seen people just sleep on exclusive once here before. So we'll have to see how they work this time around. But if they're low cost exclusive, of course, they're going to be in high demand. People are going to want to jump and run and try to get those exclusives. If those mint prices are, 20, 30, 40,000 Upix, of course they want to get those exclusives. But on that note, if it's something that you're really going to be excited about, you're going to have to be in the UK. That's going to give you the quickest travel times. It's going to give you the quickest times to get in once you know about this. And that could be wasting your time in Upland. You could be doing something else. That could be wasting your treasure hunting in San Francisco. That could be wasting your time potentially hanging around in one area or another because you're trying to take advantage of great prices at some meta ventures in the area. Just keep that in mind. It is a gameplay. It is a strategy. It is a choice if you choose to head across the map, head across the globe, just to be ready to do so. So with that, the consideration, the idea of whether this is a huge part of the game of Upland, I think it's a part of the game of Upland. The 85%, the high FSA property cities, you get some collections in there. Those collections are likely going to be reserved, or they end up kind of being reserved for the especially the higher end collections being reserved for the established players, and then the new players come in and mint those, or have the opportunity to mint those over time, the properties that aren't on collection. So we'll see how this works out. We've already seen this happen in Stockton. We've always seen this happen in Trenton, New Jersey. And obviously it's happening in Slough. We'll continue to see that happen. New players coming in the game have a place to call home, or a place to mint low-cost properties. And with that, we're going to call it a night. I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. I'm going to say thank you to our guest, who is gone already, the one and only Detech. His time tonight was, very valuable to get a better look at the idea of coming to the game, his experience specifically. We have other players with similar experiences, but everyone has their own. And of course, it is great that he had that experience to share, kind of coming in the game, learning the game of Upland along the way, learning design and 3D assets, ding, right at the wrong time, design and 3D assets along the way, and be able to take that outside the game of Upland, which is a huge benefit, a huge gift, a huge goal, and something that I've got a dear friend, More Cheese, who's been saying that right along, is if you want to be part of the future of the game of Upland, start with Blender now, or start with this design now, or start building this before it's even an opportunity, because there's things that are continuing to be in blended in the game of Upland, things like wearables that Detech mentions that aren't in the game of Upland now. If you learn Blender now because you want to do wearables when they're available in 6 months or a year, you put the work in now. You don't wait till wearables say, hey, it's time, we're here, come make some wearables in Upland. You don't wait till that time. You have to learn the skills ahead of time, so when the one niche that you want to be part of in the game of Upland comes out, when you are going to have the opportunity to get into your favorite part of the game, or what will be your favorite part of the game, you have the skills to take advantage of that, or you have the relationships, build those relationships along the way. So definitely a lot to take away from talking to Detech. I'm very excited to see him in Vegas. This goes back years of seeing all the things he's done in Upland. It is exciting that he is going to be able to make it. And again, it is just one more Uplander who is very deserving of the nomination they got. The Jack I spoke to her of the week, very deserving of the nomination she got. And there's a bunch of other Uplanders who deserve nominations as well. Some of them will be in Genesis Week. We're excited to see them as well. But excited to talk to a few more of these nominees for the Upland Community Awards 2024. But for tonight, thank you so much for being here. We'll be trying to get a hold of one or two Community Awards nominees next week. We've got a interview we're trying to get all squared away and ready for next week as well, for a staff member, talk about Genesis Week 2024. And then, of course, just generally waiting for those announcements, waiting for just a little more peek at what Genesis Week 2024 is going to look like. Maybe we'll have panel announcements in the next week or two. Maybe we'll hear about some of the individuals that are going to be there. And the one thing I want to tell Detech that I didn't get a chance to do so, because he was talking about Nowhere. John's going to be at Genesis Week this year. It looks like he's part of the Telegram group. So if Nowhere's going to be represented at Genesis Week 2024, Detech and anybody else who is trying to get into that space of interiors, it looks like your potential partner, or Upland's potential partner in bringing that to reality, is going to be at Genesis Week this year. So it's a great opportunity to have that exposure with them as well. But again, for tonight, let's actually get out of here. Thank you so much for being here. As always, as the heritage of the show, the Cafe Nightly Show, it goes, we started in the Upland Cafe, in the Upland Discord Cafe. So if you're in the Upland Discord Cafe, thank you so much for being here. As always, feel free to unmute your mics. The floor is yours.